Good evening and welcome to Virginia's Views and Vibes. I'm your host, Ginny Gardner. Tonight we are talking about recovery and addiction with my guest, Rich Barnes. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming all this way.
Thanks for having me.
An important story to tell.
I appreciate it.
Let's talk a little bit about yourself and what are you doing now and how's it going?
Everything's going wonderful. I live in Bridgewater. You know, I work for a mortgage company. I've been there a little over 17 years now. My recovery and my work run parallel. So I've been doing that since I started recovery in 2006.
Okay. So your story goes back to when you were 10 years old.
Correct.
You started with alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And what made you?
What made me drink? Well, it's a funny story because my parents got divorced when I was 7. So my father was out of the house and it was just me, my mom, and my 2 sisters. So from 7 to 10, I kind of like became the man of the house, you know, and I see my mom drink, see my father drink, and we used to have this bar down our basement. It was probably a 7 or 8 foot bar stocked with alcohol, and I seen them drink, so why not try it? And you know, I took a sip, but I remember it was Bacardi rum. And, you know, I took that first sip, it was like razor blades going down.
Yeah.
But the euphoric feeling that I felt in 15, 20 minutes after was worth it. Because it kind of hid my pain.
Yeah.
You know, not having a dad in the house and all these little pains that I had as a child and all that stuff, you know. It hit it. And I felt happy, and I felt really good. So I just continued and continued and continued, and before
Did
you
you
know.
do what the kids do and fill water in to make it look like
Yeah,
you didn't
I
drink
mean,
all
yeah.
those?
My mom didn't really get out in the basement much, so I filled the bottles up after I drank them, and you know, that went on for a few years, and then I ran out, and I had someone across the street from my home who was probably, you know, 22, 23 years old, buying me alcohol, and I was hiding it everywhere, and it was starting to become a problem. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't know, at 10 years old, I became an alcoholic.
Wow, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And the person across the street, where did you get the money to, like, cut the grass and
yeah,
things like
exactly. Cutting grass. I was a hustler. I was cutting grass. I was mowing lawns and raking leaves and whatever anybody needed me to do. And, you know, had paper routes and all that stuff, and had the money coming in. You know, I just, you know, get a bottle here and there for $5, $10.
Yeah.
Would last me a little bit of time, you know.
When did it get out of control, the drinking? You said?
I'll tell you, when did it get out of control?
Immediately, but, I mean, at 10 years old, obviously, but I mean, was there a time from 10 to when you started cutting grass and buying alcohol from a 22-year-old that you felt, did you feel out of control? I mean, that's kind of
It's a great question, and a
different-ish.
question I can answer you with transparency.
Yeah.
I never thought it was out of control.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I could pass out drunk, black out, and I'd get up in the next morning and think I was okay. See, and I say we, I classify it as alcoholics, we don't really see that we have a problem. You know, the jackpots can be hitting us in the face, and we just, we don't see them.
But drinking alone, you were drinking alone, I
Pretty
assume.
much, yeah. Until I was 13, 14.
Yeah.
And then my friends would go behind, we'd get, you know, a 6-pack of like Heffen Reffers, they're really strong ale. We'd go behind a junior high and drink there and get chased by the police and run. I mean, this is, you know, 13, 14 years old running from the police, you know. And
that's fun too.
yeah, it was, and again, that should have been a jackpot for me to say, okay, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But again, I was a child and a kid with an alcoholic, 13, 14 years old, already 3 or 4 years into my disease of alcoholism, didn't really see those things as problems, saw me getting away with it.
Right.
Pushing the envelope and having that rush of running from the police, and it felt good. And in reality, I was getting sicker and sicker.
Yeah.
Alcoholism is like a hand that goes like this and tells you you're okay, and soon enough it sprouts talons, and it gets you, you know, and then you're stuck. Or you think you're stuck.
And your sisters were unaware? I mean, at any time did they suspect you were drinking, or?
I don't really think so. No,
They're older than you, I assume?
Yeah. One's about 1.5 years older than me, and I think the other one's maybe 3 or 4 years older than me. We, maybe even 5 years old, and we hid it pretty well. We hide our disease very well. If we don't want to be found out, we won't be.
Wow.
You know?
That's incredible.
And again, in hindsight, I wish I didn't hide it very well. I wish people knew.
Yeah.
People knew. I mean, but my outward portrayal of negative actions and mischief and all mischievous deeds and all that stuff, that was coming to the forefront because I was getting in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
With school, athletics, all these things were going down. My grades were going down, and no one really could put a finger on as to why.
But they did question. They said they were trying to figure out what was going on with you.
Yeah, I think so. They were just trying. You know, they just thought I was a kid who was a problem kid. You know, and I'm going to say it was probably 80 to 90% of the alcohol, and then 10% of that I had problems. You know, if I take that alcohol away, I probably would have been a lot more successful in life. You know, but
well, I'd say you're successful in life. You're recovery, and you did it yourself. So I think you are successful in life.
Well,
you overcame a big. That's a huge challenge.
I appreciate
you're successful.
that. See, well, successful is you know, there's so many definitions of success.
No, you're successful.
Yeah, thank you.
Are.
Thank you.
You are. I mean, you had really and truly some trauma as a kid, and that's how you handled it. My question is, where were your teachers? Where was the coach when you were out of sports and they could see the change? You know, you kind of think, and I was in education for 40 years. You kind of think, I always felt I will notice, and I did. I would notice. And I guess I say, where are the coaches? Were you excelling that much that they maybe overlooked it, or they just were in their own world?
Well, Ginny, I think back in the 80s, because that's what it was, like the late 70s and early 80s, alcoholism wasn't really a big thing. It was, you know, it wasn't really noticed by many. And again, if someone said what's going on with me, I wouldn't tell them because and again, I say we as alcoholics, we hide our diseases very well. And if we don't want you to know, we're not going to let you know. Yeah. You know, I just say, I was sad or whatever. I make up some sort of reason. I manipulate people to get away from that alcohol because that alcohol became my best friend. Yeah. You know, and it took away my pain. Yeah. Made me feel happy. I was hiding it. You know, I had big speakers back in the 80s. I'd take off the front of the speaker, hide a bottle in the air, and hide it anywhere I could, you know?
I'm not laughing. I'm just thinking of my own kids. If they,
those big speakers, right? Yeah, yeah.
Big speakers. And
wherever I can hide it, wherever I can do, you know?
So you're in junior high, and now, I mean, that is the age where everyone sort of tries it. So your friends started drinking as well?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much the person who got it all because I had someone that could get it for me. So yeah, I would ask my friends to go behind my junior high school and drink, or you know, if my mother went to work or what have you, we would skip school a few times here and there and stay in my house and drink. And again, whatever felt right at that time, even though nothing was right. Whatever felt right, we did it.
So what happened to the other kids? I mean, did they eventually sort of get caught, stop drinking?
Well, none of them really went down the path that I went down, thankfully, you know. Right. I tried to get them down because, you know, misery loves company, you know, and, but, you know, we had good times. And as the years progressed and the years went by, my alcoholism grew stronger and stronger, and theirs didn't. They were just doing it recreationally and to have a good time and stuff like that. And you know, alcohol became my bedtime story a lot. You know, parents read their books to their kids. Well, I drink some alcohol and go to bed. Yeah. You know.
Anyone else in your family ever have addiction or alcohol?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
So this is really brought on by the trauma and how you coped.
I believe so. I mean, I don't know. You know, the trauma of my parents being divorced and being, you know, not having a family structure per se, probably elevated it a little bit. And again, I was getting away with things. My father was a police officer in my hometown. So what would happen is if I ever got in trouble, then my father would come and protect me, which is you know, don't get me wrong, is a great thing to do for his son. Yeah. But in reality, what harm is it doing for his son? Right. And again, he helped me out a lot.
So he knew you you had alcohol, or
Well, he
not
knew I drank.
necessarily.
He knew I
Yeah.
drank. He didn't know the extent, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? No one did.
Yeah, you hit it.
You know, like, going out and having 10, 12 beers a night or whatever with my friends, that's what we did,
Yeah.
but I would take it to the next level.
The next level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how old were you? So you made it through high school, and when did the drugs enter?
Well, I made it through high school by the skin of my teeth, but the drug started in high school. I started doing cocaine at 17. 17, I did my first line of cocaine off a CD. A friend offered me some cocaine. I had no idea what it was. And I asked him, I said, what is it? And he told me what it is, and it's going to make you feel great. It's going to keep you up all night. It's going to have you make you feel happy and all these wonderful things.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's do it. And you know what? He was right. It made me feel great, invincible, strong, and talking all this stuff. But you know what? I wish the truth came out and said, listen, I want to let you know this is going to ruin your life. You're going to spend over $1 million in 21 years of doing it. You're going to lose all sorts of things. You're going to lose friends, and you're almost going to inevitably lose your life. And if he told me that, because he didn't know either,
Right.
I probably wouldn't have taken that first line. But when I took that first line,
That was it.
instantly became an addict because I loved it.
It's not funny, but isn't it odd that with cigarettes, by that time, there was warnings on every package, and they put the price up so high, most people had to stop smoking. Then the reality of smoking was, you're going to die. They showed pictures of, people that had trachs and
Yeah.
couldn't breathe anymore.
lungs.
And lungs.
Yeah.
And that made a lot of people stop smoking or not start.
Right.
But I can't understand why drugs. They did the DARE program. Did you do DARE?
Yeah, DARE was around. DARE is still around in some schools, but not a lot
Not all. It
anymore.
wasn't. Was it successful? Would you say? I mean,
Well, for me, it wasn't. I know that.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I mean, it's a DARE officer, and it was in the school, and I mean, did it really work? I don't know. But you know what? If it saved one life, it's worth it. But to the extent that it was in there, I don't think it really did sustained its value.
Yeah, I think when they started it, it was a great idea, and the concept was good in theory.
Right.
But I think they tried to improve it every year, and then ultimately, I think the DARE officer had to try and relate to kids.
Yeah.
And I think in your case, I would say the DARE officer missed it, or you were good at what, again, because I don't want to blame the DARE officer. You became very good at what you did.
I'll tell you this. You don't want to blame the DARE officer. I don't blame anybody. I don't blame anybody for missing what I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't blame anybody for anything. I made the choice.
Yeah.
I became addicted to alcohol and drugs. It was my doing, and I take full responsibility for it.
Yeah.
And I also take responsibility for my recovery as well.
Yeah.
In order to change, we have to change the playground in which we play.
Yeah.
And I wasn't willing to change that playground yet.
Yeah.
I wanted to have a good time, and I wanted to go the extreme every single time.
What did you ever think about it? Did you ever say that young when you started pot and you started cocaine? Did a red flag ever go up? And I hope I'm not asking too much.
You can ask whatever you want.
That said, I'm not thinking this is a great idea. I mean, did you ever, any time at that point, say, maybe
I know where you're going. Did I ever think myself, this isn't a good idea?
This isn't a great idea.
Never.
Never.
Even when I wake up in the morning, sick as a dog, throwing up in the morning, or blowing blood out of my nose, I would just say, you know what? I'm not doing this again today. See, I had two sayings. By the time I was 20, 21, 22, after all the 12 or 13 years into my alcoholism and 4, 5, or 6 years into my cocaine addiction, I'd wake up in the morning, the next morning, sick as a dog.
Yeah.
And I'd say to myself, I'm not doing this again today, as I'm throwing up in the shower or blowing blood out of my nose or what have you. And I believe it. But then at 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when I'm drinking a nip and snorting a line in my car of cocaine, I'm crying to myself saying, I can't believe I did it again. See, that soft hand I told you about a little while ago has now claws, and the talons are stuck in me. And I couldn't get out. Again, I thought I couldn't get out. I was too deep into my addictions.
Yeah.
I became a prisoner of my own addictions.
Yeah.
Literally a prisoner. So it was awful.
So you made it through high school, and then you
By
went
the
on,
skin of
did
my
a
teeth,
little
I
bit of
graduated.
college,
Yeah, I did a
or-
little bit of college, and it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I didn't have the attention span. Partying too much.
Yeah.
You know, just a waste of money. Waste of money. So I thought, you know, so I entered the car business in 1988. I was selling a car salesman. You know, they entice you with a salary and a new car. You can drive a car. You know what I mean? So here I am, a 20-year-old kid who really has no self-esteem. Nothing. I mean, I'm depleted. My ethical values are gone. My integrity's gone. It's all for me, you know. But here I am. Now I can wear a suit and a tie, drive a beautiful car, and make good money.
Yeah.
So I entered the car business in 1988.
You said your self-esteem. So, were you ever in depression? Did you ever? I mean, was it a high, low?
Was I ever clinically depressed? I don't think so. But did I ever feel depressed? Of course. I mean, I see, cocaine is a stimulant, right? So what happens is for me, I'd do a line of cocaine and do as much as I possibly could until I ran out, and I'd be up here, and then when you're done, you start to crash and you come down, and you hate life. You truly ask yourself, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You're a loser. All these awful, the birds start chirping in your head about how much you're a loser, and as the years progress, those voices get louder, more clearer. And it's really quite evident that I am everything my brain told me I was. It was pretty bad, and couldn't have the courage or the ability to raise this hand,
And say,
or
oh,
make a phone call,
yeah.
and just have that 2 seconds of courage and say, you know something, I need some help. Can you help me?
So I was going to ask you, did anyone ever do an intervention? But you hit it so well.
No interventions. No one really knew.
Wow.
No one knew anything.
So you were doing all of this by yourself, cocaine and just.
It grew to that. I mean, I would hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
We'd go to, I say friends so loosely because they weren't my friends, and nor was I their friend. We were just associates getting together at a bar, having some drinks, getting drunk, getting cocaine, getting high, and then going home. That was the only thing we had in common. So they weren't good for me, and I wasn't good for them.
But did the fact that other people did it make you feel okay about doing it?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because now you're not by yourself. You're
Right.
sitting with, well, this guy does it. He's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it made me feel part of, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize at that specific time that those people and myself, we weren't really friends. Like, I'm not going to call them up and say, hey,
Yeah.
you want to go to a nice dinner? You know? No, let's go to the bar. Let's get drunk and play some Keno and get some cocaine,
Yeah.
you know? And that's what we did.
Did you completely stop drinking too? Or?
I don't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't drink. I don't do anything anymore. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
It's an amazing story. It's sad. I have to ask you this. Right now, if you could be the, let's say, 10 or 12-year-old you, what would you say to yourself? What would you have done differently? Could you have done anything differently? I mean, you were in a traumatic place. Could you have done anything differently? What would you say to you, I guess? How would you have stopped yourself?
If I can give myself as a 12-year-old advice, I would say raise your hand, open your
Ask
mouth,
for help.
let the pain out, and take that 2 seconds of courage to cry your eyes out to someone who loves you.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, I couldn't do it, you know? Couldn't do it. And no one, in fact, Ginny, no one ever, because I hit it so well, no one ever gave me advice to stop. When I stopped, it was November 3rd, 2006. All right? You're looking
Tell
at...
that story. Can you
Yeah.
go through those 3 days?
So I'll go over the last day because I don't think we have much time left, but I could go
We have
over it.
about 10 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it was a few days before, and I do the same thing every day. I wake up in the morning, shuffle myself to now I'm married. I have a daughter. She's 2.5 years old at this specific time. and she had no one had no idea of the monster who lurked their house. And you know, it was my cocaine addiction was so bad, I became paranoid.
Yeah.
So I'd always walk, when people went to bed in my home, I'd be still up and I'd walk around my home with a knife because I literally thought the boogeyman was in my house. He was under the bed, in the closet, and he was going to kill us. So it was a few days before, and I was just walking around the house aimlessly and just hating life. And the thought of suicide came in my mind. You know, it was like November 1st or so of 2006. And then November 2nd came, I'd wake up in the morning and shuffle myself to the shower, blow blood out of my nose. My daughter would be getting up, my wife would be getting up, and I'd be just inside the shower throwing up and blowing blood out of my nose, and really just very, very sick. And then I did it all, and again, I tell myself I'm not doing this again today, and I did it again. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm crying by myself in my company car, high as a kite on cocaine with vodka nips and drinking them and going back to work. And November 3rd came, it was 2006, and I've had enough, you know. 28 years of alcoholism, 21 years of drug addiction, cocaine, crack, smoking crack. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
So probably about 3 in the morning, I had the knife in my hand, and I could have sworn there was people in my house, and I used to sleep in the boiler room, so no one would find me. And that night, I just walked into my daughter's room. She was 2.5 years old, sleeping, and I gave her a kiss goodbye. She was sleeping, and 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I gave her a kiss goodbye. And that was the last time she was ever going to see me, you know. And then my wife at the time, I went in, and she was sleeping. And again, these two girls knew nothing about me,
Right.
because we hide our secrets so well. And I kissed her goodbye, and I sat on the side of the bed. And I'm not preaching God to anybody or anything like that, but I said to God, while I had the butcher knife on my wrist, I couldn't take it anymore. I said, please, take me away. Take me away, and have someone be a good husband and a good dad, you know, or help me.
Yeah.
Or help me. And I woke up the next morning, and that was November 4th, 2006. And I haven't had a drink or drug since.
You just got up and stopped.
I got up and stopped.
That's an amazing story on
But-
so many levels.
Yeah, but I got up and stopped, but I also started doing things differently, Ginny. You know, I started raising my hand. You know, this new feeling came in me.
Yeah.
That gorilla was off my back,
Yeah.
you know. And
Who was the first one you asked to help you?
one of my friend's fathers, who was sober 25 years. And I said, listen, I need some help, you know. I've been sober 6 days now, and I told him the whole story,
Yeah.
you know. And I went to AA meetings and met people and started talking about my story, raising my hand, and, you know, not only encouraging myself to talk, but encouraging others that, you know, something, you could do it too. And I remember a year went by, a year. I was sober a year. Daughter was 3.5 years old, and I really couldn't speak to anybody. But I had to get up in front of a room full of 200 people and tell a little bit of my story, because I got my 1-year medallion. Wow. And the only thing I could muster up at that specific time was, now my daughter has her daddy back. Wow. You know, and you know, God did.
Absolutely.
But God did help me with my wish, because He did find.
Yes.
He did make my wife find a better husband, which was me, and found my daughter a better dad, which was me.
Sure.
And it's been a great 17 years. I'm in my 18th year of recovery, and my worst day in recovery is better than my best day in active addictions.
That's an amazing story, and you know what? You are very successful.
Yeah.
And you're very strong. What you did takes people going back and going back. You made up your mind. You asked, personally, I believe, you asked God for help, and He heard your prayer and He answered you. Is it easy? Is it? You know, you still had to make your own decisions, but you woke up with that moment, and that to me is an amazing part of this story. I'm just going to give out a couple of things quick, and then I want to have you have the last word. Other organizations that can help are Boston Bulldog Running.org, And then the Newton Police or any police department has people that can help at any time. So don't think you're alone. Pick up the phone, and as Rich said, put your hand up. And for that 3 seconds that says, I need help. I need help. And you can say that in your head. You can time yourself. Those 3 words come out, and then you're free of it, and you can start getting help. And for you did it yourself.
Well, again, I don't think I did it myself. I think a lot of people helped me along the way. But people I've met, just by, again, when we network our lives and are paying other people, they help us. You know what I mean? And we are, addiction, alcoholism and addiction, they make us feel like we're alone.
Yeah.
And we're really not. Like, I could be in a stadium filled with 40,000 people in my active addictions and feel alone. When in reality, we're not.
So there's about 2 minutes left. And I hate to give you just 2 minutes, but
that's okay.
Your final words to anyone that might be struggling.
Well, I just want people to know that we don't have to struggle any longer. Whether it be any kind of addiction, it could be anything. It could be food, gambling, drugs, sex, anything. Any kind of addiction that we are suffering with, we don't have to do it alone. There's always people that will help us. The only thing we have to overcome is our own minds. And our mind is such a, could be a useful tool or a detrimental tool. Yeah. But my mind was my detrimental tool for so many years because it held me back. Yeah. And it wasn't until I made that decision to open up my mouth and start talking about my problem where it became useful. So I don't ever have to go back to that place where I was. I talk to anybody who wants help. Yep. I help anybody.
You'll be writing a book soon?
Well, I'm going to try. We'll see what happens, right? And the biggest thing of all is we don't have to do anything. We can always stop doing what we're doing, but it takes courage. And
never be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, I have a website. It's richfulthinking.org. And anybody can get in touch with me. My phone number's on there. You can email me, whatever you want.
I will put that up on my show page too, and on my page.
I'm available 24/7. .org.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's my. I always do .com.
That's okay.
You have an amazing story and an amazing recovery story. You've been now sober for, say it again.
I'm in my 18th year.
18th year.
Yeah, I'm very, very lucky.
And because you had the courage to say, I need help.
That's it.
3 words, I need help.
Imagine if I said I needed help 15 years ago. Yeah. But you know what? You can never unscramble an egg. You can't change what you did.
That's right.
All you can do,
right.
It doesn't matter what we've done or where we've been. Yeah. It's a matter of where we're going and what we're going to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I commend you, and thank you for telling your story. And
You're welcome.
Come back again, and we're going to have updates.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.